So today is a protest against the medical mandates. We're standing for freedom of choice. What you're seeing is several hundred healthcare workers and supporters. The healthcare workers are people who are part of the 8%, those Alberta Health Services employees who are going to be losing their jobs. In the company that I work for, I'm one of two people who are going to be terminated because of our stance on the vaccine, but probably 25% of the people that I've spoken with are very against the mandates, but just felt they had no other choice to support their families. AHS has stated that 9% of employees have not submitted their vaccination status and will be ineligible for work as of November 1st. They excluded 26,000 of their employees in that number, so it could be higher. It's not lower. I know it's at least 9% of employees. But if you think about that, AHS has roughly 100,000 employees. That's like 10,000 people, minimum, who we're losing from our workforce. And that should concern every citizen of Alberta. As we already know, we are very short of beds. And I would say that is far more due to the fact that we are grossly understaffed than it is that we have too many patients in those ERs. And I know, especially in EMS, almost every day in Edmonton we're down to 0 trucks. We're sending trucks from outside of the city into cover. We're desperately low on ambulances, and we're not in a position to be firing people who could provide care. I want to work. I want to provide care to my community. I don't want to leave, but I'm being forced out of my job. For me, it comes down to my conscience. My job is extremely important to me and has been a huge part of my life for the last 10 years, but I have actually a religious objection to participating in any one of the 4 vaccines due to how aborted fetal cell lines are used in the research and production process. I'm going to hope and pray that my religious exemption is at least read through. I have many friends who have submitted religious exemptions, and contrary to what Alberta Health Services would try and tell you, none of them have been approved that I've heard of. 10 years ago, when I was first hired by my company, I had the same objection to MMR. They gave us a vaccine schedule and asked us to take diphtheria, tetanus, Hep C, get TB testing, and take the MMR vaccine. I complied with all of that, but I said I'm not going to take MMR because it utilizes aborted fetal cell lines. My company 10 years ago approved that religious exemption on the basis of my blood titration, which proved my immunity to MMR at that time, to all 3 of those diseases. It's the exact same case right now. I am immune, and I've proved that through my antibody tests. The religious exemption is the same for the same reasons, and I'm pleading with them to let me help.
They're going to fire you.
They're going to fire me.
Get well soon. Is there a way that the province could continue without this? Like, what would be a better way forward?
Absolutely, I think so. When I submitted my religious objection to my employer, I supplied with that a record of my antibodies. I've had COVID, I've recovered from COVID, I supplied an antibody test, and I said, this proves that I have the same immunity as someone who's been dual vaccinated, if not more, if you look at the studies coming out of Israel and everywhere else. I also suggested that I come into work and every shift I take a test, an antigen test, to prove that I'm not infectious. But there was no room for compromise. They don't want to budge. It's take the vaccine or lose your job. And I just think it's a waste because there's so many other options that we could pursue. I do not want to be a danger to my patients and my coworkers, but I'm not. And I want to work and I want to help, but there's no compromise.
How many people are here? Where are they from?
Several hundred came out today. Several hundred. They are from all over the province. I know of people who have come from as far as Grand Cache, people who came as far as Milk River, full-time paramedics, firefighters, RCMP officers, nurses, healthcare workers. We also had some supporters. I'm not sure how many supporters came out, but just people who have family members who are losing their jobs due to this mandate. And I know that there are thousands on other groups. We picked a weird time to do it and a weird place to do it, and it's very last minute, but some of the other rallies have seen thousands of frontline healthcare workers.
You guys stood in silence today. Do you have a message for Albertans, Canadians that you haven't said yet? What would you like people to understand?
I think the message that we were trying to portray today was fairly clear on all of our signs, on all of our name tags, and it's just freedom of choice. The ability to choose whether or not the government can mandate what's injected into our bodies, and freedom of blackmail. You know, we're not against the vaccine so much as we are the mandates. Many people in the crowd today were vaccinated, and yet they're willing to take a stand and put their faces out there and say, what we're looking at is wrong. It's coercion, it's medical coercion. People have different reasons for refusing the vaccine, whether it's safety or anything else, but when it comes down to it, it's wrong to force people to take a medical treatment against their will. And it's wrong to blackmail them into doing that at the expense of their jobs and livelihoods.
But what about the protection of society?
Absolutely, so that's the concern. We don't want to put people in danger, but we want to pursue alternative options like antibody testing, antigen testing, even some of the treatments that are available for COVID. We'd love to see that being used, but at this point in time, if you don't fit into the box, you're not welcome. I have several friends who have tried ivermectin, people who went from SpO2 of 76 on room air, just desperately, desperately ill. They took ivermectin and within 48 hours they were asymptomatic. Everyone who I know who has taken ivermectin has been completely asymptomatic within 48 hours. The recovery is incredible. I know people are saying that it's dangerous, but if you look at the side effects, it's not dangerous. Don't eat the horse paste, take the liquid form, and have it prescribed by a physician. But ivermectin is very effective against this disease, and there's other treatments out there as well that are not being pursued. And it's almost as though we want to say, this is a preventable disease. Sorry. The narrative we're being told is that this is a preventative disease, but I believe this is a treatable disease. It's a tragedy, and my story is the same as all the stories here. I was hired November 1st, 2011. I'm being fired November 1st, 2021 on my 10-year date of hire. And it breaks my heart. I want to be out there helping. I'd say the same things to Henshaw or Kenny. I have great respect for the difficulty of their position and for what they're dealing with, but I would ask them to open their eyes and see that there's other options. It doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all. And I'd want to know why. Why are we so stuck on vaccine as the only way? There's other ways. I'd love to have a conversation with them, but I don't think that's going to happen.